Let me tell you a story about my ex-girlfriend, a hotelier whose culinary skills could put Michelin-starred chefs to shame. From the first bite of her homemade meals, I was hooked. Her dishes were a symphony of flavors, and I often found myself daydreaming about her cooking. But the reality of our relationship was not as sweet as her desserts. We started dating, and everything seemed perfect. She was Swahili and had a way of making every meal an experience. Her skills weren't limited to the kitchen. She also did my laundry and kept my house immaculate. I was living the dream: great food, clean clothes, and a spotless home. But after a few months, I began to notice some offbeat traits that hinted at toxicity. At first, I ignored these red flags. Who wouldn't, with such? She had a knack for making me feel guilty for things I hadn't done, and would often play the victim to avoid taking responsibility for her actions. Still, I tolerated it. My fear of returning to my sad, poorly cooked meals and chaotic bachelor pad kept me from confronting the reality of our relationship. I remember one particularly vivid instance that should have been a wake-up call. We were having a conversation, and out of nowhere, she burst into tears. She accused me of not understanding her and of being too distant. "I know you can't cheat on me," she said through her sobs. "You're not a whore, and it's your boyfriend's opinion that matters, not anyone else's." Her words were a mix of desperation and manipulation, and I found myself simping with emotional conviction to calm her down. After her tears had dried, she prepared yet another mind-blowing meal. But as I savored each bite, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. Despite her declarations of love, I couldn't ignore the fact that another man was in her life. Whether she felt indebted to him for a job, was repaying some kind of debt, or he was financing her lifestyle, I couldn't tell. But his presence was undeniable. One evening, she reiterated that I was the only man she loved and that she couldn't be intimate with someone she didn't have feelings for. "If I don't love you, I can't get aroused," she said, echoing a phrase I'd heard before. It's a line often used by women from her community, claiming they can't sleep with someone they don't love. I wanted to believe her, and for a while I did. For months, I lived in a fantasy. She had accustomed me to a marriage-like lifestyle that I couldn't imagine walking away from. The thought of returning to my bad meals, poorly cleaned or not clean at all laundry, and my unkempt bachelor house was unbearable. She used to cook for me like a chef and take care of me in the bedroom with equal fervor. I was a captive of her culinary and coitus skills. Adding to my reluctance to end things was the fear of what my friends and social media followers would think. I had flaunted her beauty on my WhatsApp status, and the thought of them knowing my relationship had ended in the dreaded Mtakana 2, loosely translating to "you'll just break up" fate was embarrassing. So I stayed, even as I sank deeper into depression. I was in a relationship with an emotionally manipulative partner who played the victim every time she was supposed to plead guilty or apologize. The tipping point came a week later. She was back in her good moods after receiving a phone call from Alan, her human resource manager, who apologized for something he had done. She shamelessly reported this to me, saying, "He called me and apologized. I scolded him and warned him to stop acting overprotective and clingy because I was not his wife." It was a Thursday when Alan called again while she was cooking. In the background, Oda Brown's song, "One Call Away," was serenading their phone call. She had the call on loudspeaker, and even though I didn't understand Swahili, I could catch a few words here and there mixed with English. "Mrembo blah 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 dada dada da blah 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 whole weekend. Dada dada da dada dada da dada dada da Sunday evening blah 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 Rusinga Island. The conversation made me suspicious, and when she suddenly announced she was traveling to Kisumu till Sunday to handle some hotel logistics, my doubts grew stronger. She cancelled our weekend plans without a second thought, leaving me feeling more miserable than ever. That day, I sipped on the breakfast she had prepared, state-of-the-art samosas, and said, "Travel safely." But inside, I was seething with suspicion. I decided to pay an impromptu visit to my friend Babu, who spoke Swahili. I explained my predicament, and shamelessly played the recording of her phone call, hoping he could shed some light on what was really going on. Babu listened intently, occasionally laughing. I asked him to share the jokes, but he insisted on translating the call in full at the end. When he finally finished, his expression turned serious. "James, there was no joke in that phone call," he said. "But you were laughing, Babu." "Why?" I asked, confused. "I was laughing at you, Mr. James. You are the joke here, Mr. James." "Babu, I don't understand," I said, feeling a mix of anger and confusion. "Precisely because you are a fool. Mrembo has made a fool out of you," Babu replied, visibly mad. He scrolled through my phone, deleted the recording, and handed it back to me. "I have deleted the recording, and I won't translate it to you," he said. "Why, bro?" I nagged, becoming agitated. "My brother-in-law, leave this sister of mine, she will destroy you. Swahili girls have even outsmarted us. She is not traveling to Kisumu on a work errand. Instead, she is going to have a weekend getaway with her boss on Rusinga Island. Such stupidity will finish us." He clicked his tongue in agitation and added a few Swahili words I didn't understand. It was a painful realization to take. I loved Mrembo so much. Treating relationships with someone from a different tribe with skepticism had been my default, especially towards those who insisted on using their mother tongue when talking to their tribesmen. This experience only reinforced my doubts. The breakup was inevitable, and it was a harsh lesson. I realized I had to take control of my life and learn how to cook. I started with simple dishes, determined never to be trapped in another toxic relationship out of fear of self-sufficiency. I vowed that my future children, especially any sons, would learn essential life skills from a young age. They would know how to cook, do laundry, and manage household chores, so they wouldn't rely on anyone else for basic needs. As I look back on the relationship, I see the silver lining. The moral of my story is that however bad a relationship is, don't leave it empty-handed. I walked away with valuable life lessons and a story worth telling. Now, when I cook my meals, I do it with pride, knowing that I've taken control of my life and my happiness. The pain of the past has transformed into a strength that fuels my present and future. So, if you find yourself in a similar situation, remember that it's better to face the challenges of self-sufficiency than to remain in a toxic relationship. Learn from your experiences, grow stronger, and never let fear keep you from living your best life. And most importantly, always find humor in the journey, for it's the laughter that will carry you through the darkest times. Now, with my newfound skills, I've started experimenting in the kitchen. What was once a place of fear has become a haven of creativity. I've even started hosting dinner parties for my friends, who are amazed at the transformation. They say my cooking rivals Mrembo's, which is the highest compliment I could receive. The breakup also gave me the courage to pursue other passions. I joined a cooking class, where I met people who shared my love for food. It was there that I discovered a sense of community and support I had been missing. I started a food blog, sharing recipes and stories from my kitchen adventures. It gained a modest following, and the positive feedback boosted my confidence. Through all this, I've learned the importance of self-reliance. It's not just about cooking or doing laundry, it's about being able to take care of yourself in every aspect of life. I've become more organized, more disciplined, and more confident. The pain of the past no longer haunts me. Instead, it motivates me to keep growing and improving. As for Rembo, I heard through the grapevine that her relationship with her boss didn't last. It seems their weekend getaways were not enough to build a lasting connection. While part of me felt vindicated, another part felt sorry for her. She had her own struggles and insecurities, and I hope she finds her own path to self-improvement. In the end, our relationship taught me invaluable lessons about love, trust, and self-worth. I've learned to value myself and not to settle for less than I deserve. And I've learned that true happiness comes from within, not from relying on someone else to provide it. So, here's to new beginnings and to the courage it takes to leave behind